Lack, simply put, is the idea that purpose exists somewhere outside of oneself. And that is why I feel that the the glorious purpose quote from Loki was so appropriate for this drawing. In Loki, if anybody watched the show on Disney Plus, it's Loki looking for purpose outside of himself for 2 seasons straight. It's pretty funny, actually, until the end, where it's not that he had to go searching for it. It's not that it was outside of himself. It was something meant for him all along. And it was, in his case, a hard decision away. And actually, now that I think about it, as much as I would love to say it was a singular hard decision away, while it is the final blow from the hammer that breaks the rock, or yeah, well, it's the final blow from the hammer that breaks the rock. It's the multiple and consistent blows that led to the rock breaking in the first place. So I do think that those 2 seasons were absolutely necessary to get him to a place of self-reflection and to truly examine his available opportunities, if you will, to get him to get to that hard decision. So it's not that lack is useless, or the time spent in a lack mindset is useless or unnecessary, but I figure that it's needed in many journeys to get to to get a person back to abundance. And while purpose is something found within, it's still something, I'd say, to not search for, but reflect for. It's not something far from you, it's something held within you. And I know, for me at least, when I was looking for mine in the happiness of others, I completely ignored myself. It was never like, even if, like, it was like ignoring a small child, you keep up with what the kid's saying, you know what they're saying, but you're just ignoring it to focus on whatever else. I don't know, taxes. I ignored myself, but I also knew the direction that I needed to go in. And fortunately for me, that direction included a lot of steps that other people were telling me to take. However, it's more than those steps that others were telling me to take. And while I was striving, I was also incredibly anxious because I knew that it would come to a point where I had to choose between my purpose and this mindset, and the people, having to choose between my purpose and the people surrounding me. And fortunately, I chose to listen to myself. However, I also was sitting and looking back now, recognize why I was there in the first place. I found that a lot of the time I just needed guidance or help with what I wanted to do, and it wasn't there. So, in searching for guidance or help, I had discovered that other people will kind of just tell you what to do to achieve something, and the more things you achieve, I almost want to say the more people care, the more people are willing to let you get away with things. And the things that I wanted to get away with was my my art, or my just the act of creating. The more I achieved, the more I would be allowed to create. And in that, I found that, or I thought that pleasing others or making other people happy would bring me peace. Because it's not that I wanted that happiness. I found my joy in creating. It's that I wanted peace, silence. I wanted contentment and satisfaction with myself. And I thought I would find that in making other people as happy as they could be. Because I thought if I made them happy, that they would leave me alone, if only for a moment. I thought that they would leave me alone. However, the truth is, if somebody else's happiness and well-being becomes dependent upon you, then you'll never know peace. Especially when I was striving for peace that I thought was somewhere else. A peace that I thought had to be attained, when in fact peace is another thing that's found within a person. I find that peace is truly rediscovered when I go back to my purpose, when I go back to listening to myself, because that's overall what my journey has led me to this far. I had to experience that, I think, to come back to myself and to insist upon myself. I never would have insisted upon myself if I hadn't experienced what else was out there. If I hadn't experienced searching for all that was within me elsewhere, then I never ever would have insisted on insisted upon listening to myself and expressing myself, I would never have discovered whatever audacity needed to get myself through life joyfully. So, listening to myself and learning myself. In attempting to listen to myself, I found that there were all these voices in my head that weren't mine. There were these opinions, ideas, and beliefs that I never once truly held. They were all adopted. And unfortunately, I did have to unadopt those kids. They had to go. They swallowed my voice, truly. And those voices that I was listening to were the ones that really perpetuated that cycle or that pattern. You know, and those voices are only made louder by the anxiety of knowing that I would have to choose between comfortability and myself. I had to do the scary thing of sitting in silence long enough to differentiate the voices and to figure out which one was mine. And after I learned to label them, I learned to block them out. And then I had remembered true north. I had remembered what I had sounded like. And there's a peace and a kindness for myself that I had never known before then. And it's one I never would have known if I hadn't had grown out of the lack mindset, but also if I hadn't experienced it. And in that way, I can kind of make peace with the years I spent there. I can afford compassion and kindness to my past self, who was really just doing her best. She was doing her best. And something I think about often was how when there were times I had come close to sitting in that silence earlier or listening to myself earlier, but then I had listened to this other voice, the one that was perpetuated not only by the people around me but from society in general, of this sort of nobility found in striving in all those rags to riches stories I had heard, the person was ambitious, audacious. The person knew what they wanted and they went for it, and they never stopped no matter what was happening around them. They had never faltered. They were this sort of perfect robot that just kept going. And when I tried to be that perfect robot, I truly realized and experienced the pain that comes with being that perfect robot. Because when I looked at those people that I had heard about all grown up, there was a sort of damage done to them. You could tell they weren't thinking straight. They were never in the right place. They had adopted many vices. And I think about that often. Because I truly think that if one were to strive or to truly achieve and continually outside, be noisy. If one were to actually be working in their purpose, I know now that there would be a peace and a kindness that would never harm you. The true love and the true feeling of warmth that would never put you in that place of just self-harm and self-hatred. These people, after seeing them, they remind me to stay away from that light, to look away from that light of other people's perception. Because it's not truly until you sit in the silence and in the dark that you close your eyes and you're confronted with yourself. And that you truly see that perfect robot mentality will only ever eat away at you until there's nothing left but the vices, the money, and all those people you've pleased. I found that in making other people happy perpetuates a sort of resentment and then guilt for that resentment, because the person didn't, well, they kind of did. I mean, if they're relying on you for happiness, they kind of did, but it's by not no faults of theirs, but by mainly your perpetuation of whatever their will was. You let them eat away at you, and then out of your basic survival instinct taught you to hate that person for eating away at you. And now you feel guilty for carrying this hate. It's something that only really perpetuates. I keep on saying perpetuate. I love that word. It's something that just keeps the cycle, that feeds the cycle, that keeps it going and going and going. When I think about it that way, lack is not well, sure, lack is a mindset, but lack is mainly, I find, a pattern. It's a cycle of lack. The hamster wheel. The idea of the rat race. And there are many ways to break out, but I find that sitting in silence was what worked for me. And I feel that any way to truly leave the lack mindset usually involves self-reflection and then defining abundance. So, I had to define success. And success is abundance. And abundance is perspective. And I find that when I truly look at things from a perspective of abundance, more and more just comes around. And while I am in like my baby stages, because I only just got out of this lack thing, it's worked for me. This drawing mainly serves as a reminder of what was overcome and what it looks like, so that on a bad day I remember to listen to myself and to follow my heart. That's the only real way to break out of any sort of lack. It's the only real way to live, just to live, I find. Now, to talk about the art, as creation goes, it's always a journey. This was not the original perspective I had wanted. I had wanted a bird's eye perspective for the drawing, but I find in getting the message across, at least for me, this perspective was a lot more effective. And something I always appreciated about monsters and artwork is the adaptability of a monster. Because it's not always the same thing that keeps somebody in lack or keeps someone in a certain space. It's always something different. And the monster, despite looking the same, can always be something different for somebody else. And a monster is as unique as the individual, I find. And that's why I kind of love the idea of drawing a monster to convey a message. Because it almost always ensures that you get a different conversation about the same piece of work. While this work symbolizes lack and the perspective and mindset of lack, wherever I am in time, in the future, those monsters will never be the same to me as they are now. And I like that. The idea of the angel wings, of her technically being born with the ability to fly away, yet still climbing and trudging, I feel like really speaks to that lack mindset. And as for the eating away at you part, they do eventually start to eat away at the wings you were born with. Not that they can't be regrown, but that one monster nibbling on her wing right there, I thought that was really good. Something I like about this drawing was that it helped me get back to when I originally fell in love with art, because I haven't used charcoal since then. That was like 5th grade. When I had first fallen in love with art, I had used pen, I had used pencil, but I had really, really, really gotten into drawing when I discovered charcoal. So this drawing bringing me back to charcoal was actually really cool, because charcoal technically was a medium that I had fallen in love with when I was in that like mindset. So it means even more. And I was able to combine that charcoal with water to get the effect for the wings. So the painted wings effect is so good. I loved it so much. And having that texture be different from the dress, and the dress texture be different from the skin, was really being able to convey that was really fun. I had used charcoal originally for the dress, and then I had went over that with pencil. And for the skin, I had just done pencil. And the afro was charcoal, pencil, and eraser. So I really like the lighting that I did on the afro. I based it off mine, and I think I did really, really good on that one. As for the hands, it was my first time doing a hand in black and white, and so it was my first time doing the nails in black and white. I like how that came out as well. The monsters, the one monster in the light, I love how messy and splotchy he is. I love how the hand and stuff came out, and how perfectly realistic yet unrealistic it is. I love that balance. Overall, I think this is definitely my best work to date, and I am extremely happy with it. I love the amount of play that it allowed me, and I love being able to figure things out on the fly. Getting the piece done was definitely an adventure, and one that I was extremely happy to go on. Yeah, it turned out really well. And then the streaks from the eyes were definitely last minute. They were not planned, but I do like what it added to the drawing, and it definitely added more character to the empty dark space that it was before. I really like that. But yeah, all in all, it really came together to convey a message pretty strongly to myself. And I find in asking other people what they see, like without telling them what it means, it's a pretty good gauge to see like where they're at. I asked this one person, and she said that she saw this sort of noble struggle. She saw the girl, or the angel, and saw the angel sort of making it out of this dark place of the angel escaping. So to her, the art had more of a savior ideal. And the story she had come up with is that the girl had saved someone else and was trying to save herself. And she had admired the girl's perseverance because she's still reaching despite all that's eating at her. Now, in my mind, I had originally thought that she had only seen the sort of nobility in the lack mindset, but thinking back on it, that perspective really opens up and shows you a lot about the person, not just how they see the painting, but how she sees herself. So, in an effort to get to know you, please comment down below. I'd love to know what the drawing looks like to you. Like when you saw the thumbnail and not the title, what did you think it was? How did you think it related to lack? What did you think it related to in the first place? I would also love to hear some critique. I love feedback on my art, as long as it's, not coming from, I don't know, a place of hate. I think it'll be good. I do love an open critique. And yeah, just talk to me. This is my first real time doing all the YouTuber things. So please like, subscribe, comment. This has been your favorite angel, an Eboni Angel, wishing you much peace and many blessings. Bye.